Hey guys, Derek here along with Ash, and we've been hearing some interesting rumors before the Sony conference lately, coming from Destructoid, Silicon Era, NeoGAF, just a lot of people mentioning this and bringing it up, that a Final Fantasy VII Remake could actually be happening. Now, of course, I am highly skeptical of all this, but a lot of people are corroborating this, and I don't know, is it likely? What do you think, Ash?
I mean, people have been asking for this for 10, 12 years now. I mean, I don't think I ever would have believed it was actually happening, but multiple independent sources are saying this is actually happening tonight at the Sony conference.
That would be huge.
It would be, yeah.
If it actually happened, I could see a reaction in the same vein as Twilight Princess's reveal. People just going nuts, crying, just basically an explosion of emotion. Just
there will be tears.
Yeah, exactly.
If this happens, there will be tears.
Because, one, nobody's really expecting it. Yeah, you get these rumors and whatnot, but nobody believes them. I still don't believe them.
Yeah, I mean, I can't... I'm kind of afraid to believe them because I don't want to be disappointed, but I mean... Everything does seem to be adding up. I mean, so many people have come out and kind of basically said, yeah, it's happening.
Yeah.
And I still can't quite believe that I'm even, possibly believing this because it just seems so unlikely, like it would never happen. But, I mean, it really seems like this could be the year. And, I mean, that along with the fact that, there have been a lot of sources stating that The Last Guardian might finally resurface at this year's E3, it's looking like this could be the E3
for Sony.
For not for just Sony, but for these announcements that people have been wanting for years and years and years.
Yeah, there's just games coming that people have wanted for a long time, and we already got Earthbound Beginnings. There's rumors of Final Fantasy VII, and that Last Guardian might show up, as you said. And then I believe Yu Suzuki actually tweeted a picture of a forklift, so now people are wondering if something Shenmue-related is going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, can you imagine if we got an FF7 remake, The Last Guardian, and Shenmue 3 in one E3? I mean, and we already have Earthbound Beginnings, so I mean... let's just tack Mother 3 under the pile.
Yeah, we just get Mother 3 in tomorrow.
Yeah.
Just the retro revivals, I guess. I don't know. Shame we didn't get anything like that for Banjo-Kazooie or Battletoads, but that's the way it goes.
Oh man, yeah, that's a whole separate discussion, but that was pretty tough to have this morning, or not have, I should say.
Exactly, it's not quite what you'd expect after just all the things that were happening. But yeah, what would you expect? What would you want out of a Final Fantasy VII remake? Would you want it just the best graphics, or something a little bit more modest? Or, I mean, is it worth remaking? I guess is the big question.
I think it's one of the only Final Fantasies that's worth remaking because it's one of the, not because I don't like Final Fantasy, but because it's the one that's by far aged the worst. It's the one modern Final Fantasy that has aged pretty badly. I mean, the graphics by today's standards are pretty terrible. I mean, 8 and 9 still look pretty, okay. The translation was awful. I mean, it had a horrible localization. That alone, I think, just having a better professional localization would go miles toward making FF7 a lot better than, it just, as it stands, it hasn't aged well, and I think they could really benefit from a remake because there's a lot of great stuff there. It's beloved for a reason, but it's just that, it's pretty rough around the edges as it stands, and I think it's really one of the only modern Final Fantasies that really needs to be remade. Honestly.
Yeah, I mostly agree with that. I definitely, I tried replaying Final Fantasy VII a couple of years ago, and I just was shocked of man, this translation is awful. How do just errors everywhere? It was driving me nuts. I really it was distracting the whole time. So just having a better translation alone would be more than enough for me for a Final Fantasy VII remake. And honestly, people have been begging for this for so long. I always thought that something along the lines of graphics of Crisis Core would have worked great for a Final Fantasy VII remake.
I would have been fine with that.
They're going all out. Now, here's a big question. We actually heard Tom brought this up before, where it might be a little easier for a remake if they decided to keep basically the style of Final Fantasy VII, where it's these really high-quality background images, the static CG images, sort of like the original, and then just updated character models, and that way you don't have nearly as much that you need to make a fully 3D Final Fantasy VII.
And I'm not even sure that they could. I mean, I'm sure they could eventually make a fully 3D Final Fantasy VII by today's visual standards, but how long would that take? Because FF7 is a huge game. I mean, that was the main barrier that Square Enix themselves were talking about in terms of not having remade the game yet, is that, by 1997 standards, a game of FF7's size could be made, and it wasn't super crazy expensive to do it or unrealistic, but by today's standards, a game that size, it's a whole different story. So I could see that approach being taken. The rumors say that CyberConnect 2 is handling development on this.
Which that is they mostly handle. I mostly know them from the Naruto games from Namco, and I think they also did that original. It was mostly QuickTime events game with the gods and stuff. Oh, what was Asura's Wrath?
Oh, I see. Yeah.
Asura's Wrath. So that game. I mean, say what you will about the game, it did look gorgeous.
Yeah, it did, and I mean, I don't think Square knows how important this game is, not only to them, but in the overall, just gaming culture. I mean, FF7 is one of the most important games of all time, regardless of how you personally feel about it.
Yeah,
whether
what do they think it's overrated or anything like that?
Yeah, it just is, and I don't think Square would entrust a remake of that level, of that caliber, to anyone that they didn't trust. I mean, they're not going to mess this up. They can't.
Yeah, it'd be bad.
Yeah.
I guess one final question before we wrap this up is, what do you think this means for? I mean, Square infamously said something Final Fantasy VII related at some show, I forget what, and it ended up just being the PC port of Final Fantasy VII on the PS4. Do you think, if this is true, is that whole idea canceled now, or they just?
I don't see how it would have to be. I mean, I don't. They already have the PC port. I mean, they have PC ports of the game already. I don't feel like bringing that to the PS4 is that tall an order. And I mean, there's still something to be said for the original classic version of something. If it's being remade, it's going to be a new version of this game. And,
True.
And people, there's merit in having the original version of something.
That's very true. But it's very interesting timing, especially since there was such a negative reaction to the PC port. It's like, really? You're going to do this to us?
Well, but there's also the fact that, I mean, even if this is happening, knowing Square Enix and their development turnaround times, I mean, we're probably not going to see this until 2035.
That's very... But that's why we're having CyberConnect...
And that's being nice.
But that's why we're having CyberConnect do it.
That's true, yeah.
We might actually get this at a decent time.
Yeah.
But... Anyway, guys, that's our, I guess, predictions, reactions, I don't know, on Final Fantasy VII, whether or not it's actually going to have a remake this year. We'll find out very soon at Sony's conference, because that's what they're saying is we're going to find it at, not at Square Enix's. So, yeah, stay tuned to GameXplain for more on Final Fantasy, E3 coverage, and plenty of other things gaming. So, bye.